I love watching Banchero play basketball, and I'm kind of happy that he's back.
Man, he's back, and I'm telling you, when Franz come back, it's
Oh,
like
they're
the
dangerous.
it's like the Magic are just like the Oklahoma City Thunder in a way. They
Yeah.
have all these guys coming off the bench, all this length, all this size.
Yeah.
You know, it's man, it's like yo, it's this is real tough. And we've seen teams, you know, like the Knicks, they struggle against teams that are built like this. All these top heavy
They're big.
teams.
Orlando's big. Like Jonathan Isaac, Goga, Wendell
Mm-hmm.
Carter, France and Paulo are not. They're not like great defenders, but they're solid defenders. So they just their size and Tristan De Silva and Jet Howard. They're just a big team. Even Anthony Black, their backup guard, he's big. So that team just has a great like offense and defensive ratio. I think offense. Let's see what moves they make, but when it comes to the defensive end, they're tough.
Yeah, I feel like the small market teams like Orlando, Oklahoma City Thunder, they took a different team building route. They took the
Yeah,
more like, okay, we're gonna have a deep team. Because you know,
yeah,
sometimes the smaller market teams, because they don't have as much money, I think they planned ahead for the new CBA, while the richer owners like the Phoenix Suns, even the Knicks to a degree, with the way they got their team kind of constructed now, it's very top heavy. You're paying OG a lot of money. You're paying Towns heavy money. You're paying
Mikhail,
Brunson,
obviously.
you know, Mikhail and Brunson. So it's very top heavy. But the smaller
Yeah,
market teams, I think they looked ahead at the new CBA and they designed their teams kind of, you know, flat,
yeah,
because Orlando, they got what, Jonathan Isaac coming off the bench on a good contract. They got KCP on a decent contract. They got, you know, all these like young draft picks like Black. You know, they got all these guys, Cole Anthony, and it's like, damn, bro, they kind of like their team is very deep, and it's gonna be very hard for um these top heavy teams like the Knicks, the Phoenix Suns. It's gonna be very hard for them to stay healthy for a whole year and then compete with a whole team by the time they hit the playoffs that got like running like a 10-man rotation. That's what's happening right now. They're running like
yeah.
a 10-man rotation, and some of these teams are playing with like 6 guys, 8 guys. It's this is brand new. We've never really seen it play out like this before. And so the Cavs,
Even the Rockets, Pistons are
yeah,
deep.
there's multiple teams. I'm
Yeah,
about to get them to them right now. The Cleveland Cavaliers are built like this. They got a
they're
bunch of
deep.
role players that are impacting the game. The Boston
And
Celtics, to a degree, they're built the same way.
yeah,
Hold on, let me finish. There's a couple of teams here. The Atlanta Hawks are slowly working their way to being that type of team with the way they've constructed this roster right now. Um, the Detroit Pistons are on their way of doing that also. The Houston Rockets, like you were saying, the Houston Rockets are deep, and
they're deep.
it's almost like the Mavericks in a way. The way you could tell they attacked this offseason, they sort of picked up that vibe. Like, yo, we have to get a deeper team. We have to get more guys in here. Let's get Najee Marshall. Let's get guys who can contribute. Let's get Clay on that good deal. You know, he's like on a good mid-level deal. They're making their teams deeper. And same thing for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Like before they traded Towns, they had a deep team. So them and Oklahoma City Thunder, they finished at the top of the West last year. And that's how Jokic ended up getting eliminated. He ran out of gas. There's like a lot of, it's almost like a new formula we're seeing in the NBA that's happening slowly. And it's really having a deep, serviceable team. Like you have your star, you kind of have your co-star, but you have like a bunch of guys in case injuries happen, etc.
I just think like the teams now, the way they view basketball, right? Especially these small market franchises like Atlanta and Orlando. It's you can't rush building a team at this point. I think like when you're those organizations, you're never really getting major teams to. You're never getting major players like Orlando. Let's be honest, they never really attracted a free agent throughout their history, right?
Mm-hmm.
Same with the Hawks. So you have to make do of what you can. You have to make do of what you can, and I think these guys they've stretched it to where there's more flexibility. Let's say tomorrow France and Paulo don't work out, they still have the flexibility of moving on and building on from there.
Yeah, and it's almost like the CBA also is working in the small market teams' favor. You know, like you said,
Yeah,
the teams that were regulated to build a team that type of way. Now
yeah,
that's like the best way to operate with these new rules.
yeah.
Because again, Houston, you look at Detroit, the way they're building their team out. Orlando, you know, Boston, and Cleveland is like the, well, I would say Boston really is where you want to get at. You want to get a good co-star, a
Yeah,
decent serviceable star, and then you have a bunch of guys around it. But
yeah,
Cleveland, low key, quiet as kept, yo, they sort of built their team like this too.
yeah. But they're mixed, right? I think like Struess and like Max Struess and Niang, those guys kind of bring that veteran flavor that the team needs. But overall, they done a good job in kind of getting G League guys. Sam Merrill and who else am I thinking of? Sam Merrill and something Jones, I believe he's on the team.
Yeah, I know you're talking about. They have a lot of serviceable players, and also
Yeah,
they landed on their picks. They got Okoro. You know, they got what's his name? They traded from Brooklyn also. That worked out well for him. He's almost six
Ty
man.
Jerome.
Yeah, Ty
Yeah,
Jerome, and also what's his name out of Brooklyn? Karis LeVert. He's like on one of the six mans
Levert's
of the
a
year
six man.
candidates. Yeah,
Oh, Dean Wade is another solid guy. They just
exactly.
have really good players, and
And,
I think that's what it is.
and also these guys could defend multiple
Yeah,
positions, man. That's the beauty of it all. They're
yeah.
defending
Oh,
multiple
they're a very
positions.
attractive team. They're a really attractive team. You know, I think like they have a good amount of like veteran players who can really dictate, and like good amount of like unselfish players, and that's what you need at the end of the day. Because Donovan Mitchell himself, he's 27, so he's close to his prime. But
Mm-hmm.
when you have like solid young, like good young guys, along with like solid role players, and they're willing to kind of sacrifice their roles, and like veterans, like even like Tristan Thompson, like let's be real, like he doesn't give a shit anymore that much. He's just collecting a check. So you have good voices in the locker room, and that's how you really build a team. And I think a lot of teams are noticing that. Like even Houston, they have like their signature veteran is Steven Adams.
Yep.
Oklahoma had it with like Mike Muscala for a few years.
Yep. Houston using that same formula, man. It's. I'm telling you, that's where Cam Whitmore. We were talking about it earlier. Cam Whitmore. That's where he's struggling with. He's like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
I can't get no minutes. Is because these teams have adapted the way they kind of built out their roster, man. And Cleveland is another beautiful example of a team on the come up, man. Sam.
yeah.
They also got what's his name? Like you said, Dean Wade. But you know what came through for them really is the Jarrett Allens, the Darius Garland, the
And that
Karis
Ben
LeVert.
Simmons trade.
Yeah,
The Ben
man.
Simmons trade came through for them because that fast forwarded their rebuild, and that made them comfortable enough to be like, that's I always like a team that takes a chance. And you know, that's one thing I liked about Cleveland is they saw like a whole pivot. LeBron era's over, and you have like I think what at the time Sexton and you draft Garland. So you're like, you know what? Let's kind of fast forward the rebuild and kind of see what we could do, right? And I believe they got Jared Allen, Karis LeVert off those trades, and at Torian Prince, and they made the most out of that move. And then you get obviously the chance to get Donovan Mitchell, you take it. And I think that's one thing you can never take away from Cleveland is they were they've thought ahead when it came to the rebuild, and they thought smart. They didn't like hesitate to make a move. Like
Mhm.
they knew that there's a chance Donovan could leave, but at the same time they said fuck it. Like if he leaves, we're back to like square one.
Yep.
And now like they're a contender. So those kind of organizations I respect, like teams that are willing to take a chance. I think small markets kind of get like pressurized or whatever to not take a chance on superstars or star players, and like this team specifically, I'm like, you know what, like this is awesome.
Yeah,
Like I'm happy they made it.
and that point exactly right there is what's hurting the larger market teams. Them not willing to take that risk anymore. Yeah, under these new CBA rules, that
Smaller market, or
you
larger
get
market, or smaller
penalized.
market.
Yeah, you get penalized for that.
Yeah,
You get penalized for that. And then the smaller markets is almost like their approach now is the A approach. And then the big market
yeah,
teams, them like trying to quickly find a fix and not go through a rebuild, that actually hurts you. You end up like the Phoenix Suns.
yeah,
You end up like the
yeah.
Phoenix
You just get
Suns.
stuck.
Yeah, and it's so bad right now that even if you have a legacy player like KD, you can't even get out of it.
No, you're stuck.
You're just stuck, man. And also kudos to the Cavs, man, sticking with Isaac Okoro, man. That is working out lovely for them.
You know, I was kind of scared. I'm like, dog, are they not resigning? Because I actually liked him. He got drafted a little high, but he's solid. So I was like, what the hell's going on here? But
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy they did it.
Yeah, again, I just want to say the teams that in the league that kind of have this formula down pat is the Boston Celtics. That's at the high end. Then the Cavs, they're on the come up with that same formula. We see it work out this season perfectly for them. And then it's the Orlando Magic, the Pistons, the
And the
Oklahoma
Rockets.
City Thunder, yep, at the high end, and
Yeah.
then the Houston Rockets, yep.
You know, Memphis deserves their flowers. They done a
Oh
good
yeah,
job
yeah,
too.
yeah. Memphis is using that same thing is working out for them also.
Yeah. I don't know why I always forget Memphis because for whatever reason I always praise them, but I always forget they're young.
And I want to give I also want to state the Minnesota Timberwolves had this formula last season.
Yeah, but that Towns contract's crazy, and I think they could. I think they'll move on from Julius Randle if I'm gonna keep it real.
Yeah.
I think they need to move on from Randall and just you got Anthony Edwards and you got Nas Reed and Gobert and figure it out from there.
So when you move off of Julius Randle, what are you really saying?
I'm saying you have to make a pivot
No. What are you really saying? You're saying that basically the T Wolves gave up Karl Anthony Towns for nothing.
for nothing.
So
Yeah, for
what does that
nothing.
mean though? What does that
For
mean though?
flexibility. For
For
it
for
means that the
for
second apron scares the second apron has ruined the idea of taking a chance. Like it's
Nah,
ruined that
I
for
don't
sure.
think it's that. I think it's them. I think the T Wolves are actually not really in the business of winning like that.
No, they're not. A lot
Not
of
at
small
all.
market teams aren't, and Minnesota isn't.
Yeah, they're not at all.
Yeah.
Because if you look at it, like, how the hell you trade Towns away, right? Because let's say they kept Towns, right? They paid the tax. Towns is still valuable. Other teams are still going to want to trade for him, right? But you
Yeah.
traded Towns after making the Western Conference Finals. LeBron James is on the downhill. Kawhi is not healthy. You know, Luca.
Yeah.
You know,
Dallas is always questionable.
yeah, and then Oklahoma City's on the rise, and it's like you just beat the defending champions, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, we're gonna just save money now. Like, come on, man.
And Denver's also on the decline. I don't know if you added that point.
Yeah, good point. Denver lost. Well,
Mm.
yeah, they're kind of on the decline because they're losing players. They're another team that didn't really want to spend a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah. Like they lost Bruce Brown, they lost KCP, they looked into Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, so it's these are interesting times, man. These are definitely interesting times.